Have you ever felt ill-equipped? Have you ever felt like I am not qualified to do what I'm being called to do? I know for me in my journey, I have had a lot of seasons where I have felt like this. And it's something that I wanted to bring to the podcast and talk about today because I know as moms specifically, we really feel like this, especially when we're managing a home, we have multiple children, whatever our situation may be. There are moments where we feel like we can't do it. There are moments when we feel like this is not what I'm being called to do. I can't do this. I'm not the person to do this, whatever. Insert blank. And I want to be someone who really talks about and normalizes this because I know for me, especially as the mom of a medically complex child, an entrepreneur, a mom of four, I have had so many moments where I feel like I wake up and think to myself, I can't do this. This is too much. This is too hard. This is incredibly overwhelming because I don't really know what to do or where to go or what the best decision is, whatever it is. And here's why I'm talking about this, because I've realized there's a very specific reason why that soundtrack comes up. There's a very specific reason why I have moments when I feel ill-equipped. And most often it comes back to this idea of I'm assuming that I have to do it all. I'm in the mindset that I have all control. I feel like I just have to hold everything close to the chest and be the person that manages all the things. And I've talked about this on different podcasts, and I want to recall it today because that kind of mindset is a recipe for disaster. It truly is. So let me be the one to remind you, you are not supposed to hold it all together on your own. You are not supposed to carry the weight of everything. You are not supposed to hold things so close to the chest that only you can manage it. And you are not responsible for everything and everything. Like you do not have the full plan. You do not have full control. The hard truth is you never will. Neither will I. None of us will. So how do we actually find the balance in this then? Because it's so easy to feel massively ill-equipped. And like I said, when you really unpack that, it comes from this idea of you as yourself are the person responsible. And on a deeper level, it's ego-driven. This idea that you are the one, that no one else can do it. I've had to learn this the hard way, especially as a mom of four. And with each of my kids, I've had to let go a little more and a little more and a little more. And I've just had to trust a lot more. I've had to have faith a lot more. I've had to let things go that weren't how I had planned or I had envisioned or how I had hoped. I've had to let go a lot. And that's not always easy to do. Now, on the other side of this feeling ill-equipped thing is going after big, new, different things. And this is the other side of what I've learned, especially as an entrepreneur. So the first part of this I talked about was related to motherhood. The second part of this is related to business, related to entrepreneurship, related to fear, related to this idea of, I don't know if I can. And I know this is a very real fear and feeling that so many of us have in different aspects of our life, whether that's business, whether that's something else, relationships, something with your kids, a way you want to volunteer, a dream you're going after. We can feel like I can't, I'm not capable, I don't have the skill set. This feels so fear-filled because I don't know. I don't have the plan. I'm not sure. I'm not certain. But as we talked about, we're never going to have the full plan. We're never going to have the full picture. That's not how life works. So what do we do in order to actually move through these seasons of feeling ill-equipped? I talked about this on other podcasts too, but really continuing to fill your spiritual bucket or attaching yourself to a purpose beyond you is huge. That is one of the things that continues to keep me anchored. Now, on top of that, what are the other things that help me in the moments when I feel ill-equipped, especially when I'm filled with fear, or I feel like I can't do it, or I feel like for whatever reason, like I'm not going to be able to figure it out? The first thing I always revisit is the why. When I'm unpacking my calling, when I think about where I'm being led to serve, where I really unpack the most is what my heart has felt related to serving other people. And I know wholeheartedly the experience that I've gone through as a mom, as an entrepreneur, has led me to continuing to share my story over and over and over. Why do I do that? Because I think back to the person I felt like I was at the beginning of my journey. The person who was completely defeated, completely isolated, completely alone, felt like she had nothing, felt like she was incapable, felt wildly defeated in a lot of ways. And when I think back to that person, that is a big part of my why. I want to make sure that I continue to share my story and serve and be honest about the journey of health and teach what I can, because I think about that person that I once was. And I know there's other women that listen to this that may be sitting in that boat in some capacity, who feel alone, who feel defeated, who feel like their health is going backwards, who feel like they don't have support, who feel like they're isolated in some way, who feel like they're not equipped, who feel like they can't do it, who feel like they aren't capable. Whatever those things are, I share what I do because I want that person to know you are not the only one. That is a huge part of why I continue to do what I do. And I continue to dip into this mindset over and over and over every single day in some capacity, because every single day in some capacity, I feel ill-equipped. I feel like I'm not capable enough. I feel like I don't know enough. I feel like I don't know exactly where I'm going, so I shouldn't even try. And then I'd pause and say, but who needs to hear what I have to say? Does the person that feels like what I once felt need some level of encouragement or direction or discernment in the hard that they're feeling? And the answer is always yes. So I always go back to my why. In the seasons or in the moments where I feel the most ill-equipped, I always go back to why. Why are you doing what you're doing? Why are you feeling called to do what you're doing? Why do you feel that you are sharing the way you're sharing? And it all goes back to speaking to that person, and that woman especially, who feels like she's on her own. Because I never want any other woman to feel like they are the only one in any aspect of feelings you feel in relation to your life, to your health, to your marriage, with your kids, as a mom, whatever it is. It's a huge piece. So in those moments, always think back to why. If you feel not capable, if you feel ill-equipped, pause enough to remember and remind yourself, why are you even going in the direction you are in the first place? The second is remembering that you're never going to feel fully ready. And this is something that I've had to learn in both entrepreneurship and motherhood. I wasn't ready to unpack my son's genetic disorder. I wasn't ready to live in hospitals for year after year after year, trying to figure out what he needed and what his body was going through. I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready to manage 2, 3, 4 kids. I wasn't ready to figure out how to grow my business. I wasn't ready to figure out the hard transitions that our marriage has gone through in different seasons of being parents. I wasn't ready to move across the country away from family. I wasn't ready for a whole lot of things. But here's what we have to remember. Most often, when we think about this concept of I don't feel ready, it's attached to emotion, right? It's attached to feeling. And what we immediately do as humans is often say, well, I don't feel ready, so I'm not capable. Well, I don't feel ready, so I don't have the skill set. Well, I don't feel ready, so I can't do it. And here's the most important reminder of all, especially in these moments where, again, you might feel ill-equipped. We'll get back to our conversation shortly after this message. If you are an overwhelmed and completely confused mom who just wants a simplified, easy to follow, and understandable plan when it comes to their health and wellness journey, then you're in the right place. As a wellness coach, I focus most on empowering women to follow a highly personalized and bio-individual plan that actually gets you results and that feels sustainable for your longevity. I'd love to invite you to set up a free coaching call to talk about your health and wellness journey. Head to erinshreer.com/coaching to set up your call today. Again, that URL is erinshreer.com/coaching to set up your call. And to make it even easier, head to the show notes of this podcast and click free coaching session to set up your call ASAP. Now let's dive back into the conversation. You're never going to feel fully ready. And so the trick is remembering that it's not about not feeling ready. It's about remembering that you are capable of figuring it out, even when you don't feel ready. Because most often we feel ill-equipped because something is new or different or we haven't done it before, not because we're not capable, not because we can't figure it out. And that is a huge thing we have to discern through when we're going through moments or seasons like this or situations like this. And so I've had to really challenge my mindset around this concept because I have had to learn, just because I feel fear, just because I don't feel ready, just because I feel ill-equipped, doesn't mean I'm not capable of doing the things or of taking the step. I think where we get confused is remembering the idea of you actually grow and learn and make the decisions and pivot and get better along the way, not by sitting still, not by never taking the step. It's along the way in the journey, day after day, over time. That's how you build confidence. That's how you feel more equipped. That's how you feel more capable. You have to do things through action, not sitting still and overthinking. And I've really appreciated being continually reminded of that in the work I do, from my mentors, and so much more. We have to remember that we won't ever feel fully ready. Instead, we're going to build feeling ready along the journey. So remember that in these seasons. The last thing is one step at a time. And I say this literally every day to my clients. I sound like a broken record. I know I do this as a coach, but it really is one step at a time. So often when we think about where we're going, our next big dream, our next big job, where we want to transform to in our health, where we want to live, whatever it might be, something in business, something in motherhood, how we dream up our family looks, whatever it is, we start to project and build this whole staircase concept in front of us. And then when we're thinking about this whole concept of where we need to go and the whole journey of it all and what it's actually going to take, that's when we start to feel like, oh my goodness, I don't know if I can commit to this. I don't know if I can do it. And that's where we can get stuck. And we just talked about this. You build the confidence and you grow and you learn along the way as you're taking action on the journey. So the key here is focusing on one next step, one step at a time. Not the whole staircase, not the whole journey, not how everything you think is going to happen is going to happen. Because here's the reality. Whatever we project is going to happen isn't actually going to happen. I think many of us can relate to that. We always think something's going to go one way. And then most often life brings it a different direction, because that's the reality of life. So how do we really start to focus on one step at a time? Because again, that idea of feeling like you can't do it or being filled with fear or ill-equipped comes from this idea of we're trying to carry the entire vision all at one time, rather than simply staying faith-filled and focused on what do I need to do next? How do I get a little bit closer or a little bit better? This is something I talk to my clients about too, because when we're going through plans, when we're going through protocols, when we're talking about healing, when we're unpacking nutritional change, we're unpacking history and stress and what our lives have looked like up until this point to bring us to where we're at. So often we think about all of the things we've been through, but not necessarily how they affect where we are now. We have to understand there is always a cascade of everything in our life building on the next thing. And while we might feel ill-equipped or not capable or fear-filled, because we don't know exactly what's happening, we can focus on just getting 1% better in some capacity based on where we were to where we are now to where we want to go. I want you to think about this. Like if you're really trying to unpack where you're going, what you're doing, what you feel called to do, how you're feeling called to serve, the impact you want to make on the world, in your home, as a mom, as a business owner, whatever it might be, I want you to really think about this. Your calling, or where you're being led to go, wasn't put on your heart because of a specific kind of qualification. It didn't land in your lap for no reason. It's there because it is the opportunity for you to build growth, to strengthen your faith, to stay steadfast with obedience, and to becoming the person you are meant to be along the way. And that's maybe the biggest lesson of all. And as I talked about at the beginning of this podcast, so much of what I have felt in the past around feeling ill-equipped, around feeling like I can't do it, around feeling like I don't know how, is my ego speaking. It's keeping me stuck because I am feeling like I'm the person that just has to have everything figured out and all the answers and control all the things and be responsible for it all. And that's not real. That's not actually what you focus on at all. What you focus on instead is having faith in some capacity, taking one step at a time, and focusing most on the growth and the change and the confidence you can build along the way. I'm not saying that's always easy, but it is a necessity. And it's one of the most profound mindset shifts that I want to continue to teach on and educate about, because when we're thinking about health specifically, so many people I talk to allow their circumstances or situations or what's right in front of them hold them back from actually taking the action and continuing to grow. And that's something I want to continue to make sure people hear and understand. Because whatever it is in your life, a calling, an impact, even just personal growth, personal development, all of it doesn't change until you actually choose to change and take action. So the next time you maybe feel ill-equipped, you feel like you can't do it, you feel like you're stuck in some way, I want you to think really hard about what are the things you can do to relate back to your why of where you're going. What are the things you can do to make sure you're not waiting until you feel ready, because you never will feel ready? And then how do you focus on one step, one best next step to help yourself start to move into forward momentum? Because at the end of the day, if you are looking to make an impact, create change in your life, be a better person, fulfill a calling, whatever it is, you have to take action. Remember that. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. I know balancing time and energy can be a challenge, and I'm so proud of you for listening in and investing in your wellness journey. I feel incredibly grateful to connect with you and for the opportunity to share more knowledge, stories, and encouragement related to all things wellness. I would love to hear how this podcast has served you. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe and leave a review on either iTunes or Spotify. Your support truly means the world to me and helps me reach more women just like you and me who are looking to transform their health from the inside out. Plus, when you share this episode with a friend, we invite more women in to learn alongside us. What a gift. Remember, knowledge is power, and the more we know, the better we can do. For ourselves, for our families, and our future. Well done on taking the step towards a healthier, happier you. Until next week, stay empowered and stay well.